Welcome to the Girl at a Bar podcast. I'm Tracy Mulholland. My guests went out to a bar alone, had to stay for 90 minutes minimum, and couldn't look at their phone. We talk about their night and how they can use this experience to get out of their comfort zone in other ways. So the couch got delivered.
Couch is delivered.
Is it the couch behind you?
No, it's the couch. It's a couch in our family room. So we're kind of revamping that area. And of course, they give you the 2-hour window for the delivery, and they come at the very end.
Of course, yeah. So I'm talking to my friend Craig, and we've been friends for quite a minute. And Craig is a music professional. You used to be in LA, and now you are in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes, I have escaped LA. No, lots of love to LA. It was just a necessary change.
You slowly moved up. You went to Santa Clarita, and then you moved out of it.
Yeah, we baby stepped our way up towards we flirted with the edge of LA County, and then we're like, okay, maybe it's time.
Yeah, you were in the hot part of LA, and now you're in the cooler, I would assume, part of Washington. Well, Craig was involved with Girl to Bar, the music supervisor for the show, and also helped specifically with a couple of tracks. One of the ones that I sang on, helping get that going, and the overall sound in all of the bars and the intros to scenes. So appreciative for your help, and so glad that you were involved in the show.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I definitely want to acknowledge your work, not only with the project, but the work that you're doing with Lyme and everything.
I appreciate that. Oh, okay, we won't get too emotional. We're gonna go into the fun stuff. So you are the person who went outside of LA, actually, on purpose. We had Abby was planning on going out in LA, but she ended up in an airport bar in Oregon.
Nice.
Yes, but you planned it such. So tell me all about where you went, why you went there, and also why did you say yes to doing this?
I'll tackle your second question first. I said yes to doing this. It's kind of a twofold answer. I mean, one, because I love you and I'm happy to be involved. And I guess secondly, I'm always game for a social experiment.
Yes.
Full disclosure, one of my wife and I's favorite shows is Big Brother. And I think I like seeing some of the social things that happen in those environments. And the social experiment portion of this really drew me in. So that was fun.
I think a lot of people look at it as a social experiment. I don't know if I led with that when I originally did it. It was more just to get out of the house. But
Yes.
Then I realized in a sociological perspective, there is a lot to glean from it. We actually met really randomly at a party. We're strangers. And
right. And that's funny too, because I think that was, maybe I'll launch more into this later, but the whole component with with having the cell phone, with the cell phone being involved, I feel like when we met, cell phones were less in the,
Yes.
People had them, but it wasn't it was different than what people use their cell phones for now, I guess.
We had Blackberries, or I did. Do you?
Yeah, same.
Yes.
And I still reminisce over the tactileness of having a physical keyboard. And I miss it so much. I'm like, when are they going to be able to implement the old? But maybe that's just my Gen X speaking. But
I think that screwed up my arms so much from having to type on those things. That was really not good for me ergonomically.
right.
But we were both assistants. I was an assistant at a studio, and you were an assistant at an agency, a talent agency. So we were in that new, young assistant world in LA when we first met at a party. And then I believe we started talking just over the snack table.
Yeah, good memory. Yes.
Anyway, the social experiment, and you were digging that.
I guess I want to just fully be vulnerable on this and talk about the whole story, because I feel like that's probably more the purpose of this. So when you first asked me to do this, I had a bar definitely in mind that I wanted to check out. It's this bar. So I live in Olympia, Washington, and Olympia is kind of it's a capital city, but smaller city, 60,000 people. So it's a very quirky, progressive-ish type of a city. And there's a bar that I really wanted to go to that's been around since the days of the Riot Girl punk movement. And it's called the Cryptotropa, and it's painted all black. and it's got this, it's like a gothic bar, they've got like a vintage embalming table outdoors on the patio, and it's like super goth vibes. But it's got some deep history in Olympia, and I felt like this is a perfect bar for the for what this is. And so I
Mhm.
kind of had my sights set on doing it there. And ultimately I did not end up there. And I think a lot of it had to do with, I started getting in my own head about what this is, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be at a bar for 90 minutes and I can't be on my phone. I don't frequent bars by myself a lot usually these days. I'm pretty comfortable in social settings. So it was less daunting about talking to a stranger, just more daunting of like, I'm going to show up at this bar and I'm going to be totally out of my element. People are going to be like, oh, what is this weird dude doing just sitting at the bar? I kind of decided last minute that I wanted to pivot and go to a different spot. And the second I made that decision, I started beating myself up inside. I'm like, oh, you're not taking this seriously. You should be forcing yourself. Like the whole portion of it I felt was putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. And it
Mhm.
felt like the second I got to this other place, I was like, why did I do it? Like, I should have just gone with my gut and pushed myself further. I felt like I kind of copped out, but that kind of set off the whole trajectory of the night too.
Okay,
Um,
well, then I wanna hear about that too. So, it sounds like you came into it a little bit disappointed or had to pivot and feeling a little down about that. But
yes.
I wanna hear about any bar you go to because 'cause I've never been there, and I think many of our listeners probably haven't too. Whatever you bring to the table is gonna be awesome, so yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. So I opted to go to this place called Ilk Lodge. They opened up about 3 or 4 months ago. They're kind of a brewery slash bar. And coincidentally, one of the partners, they've got 5 or 6 different partners. One of the partners of the bar is a dad of his daughter. I'm sorry, his son is in the same class as my daughter. So it was kind of a
Ah,
random. That's not initially why I chose to go there, but kind of an interesting side note. I'm all about supporting the local businesses too. So I really, it felt good to go there. It was a more comfortable setting for me per se, because they also have food. And I think in my mind, I was like, okay, well, if I'm spending 90 minutes not on my phone, like maybe I'll go
what am I
somewhere
gonna
that
do?
has food so that can take up some of the time if it's awkward talking to people. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this will be a lot easier. And I'll be a lot more in my comfort zone, which I said earlier, I was regretting once I stepped in. I'm like, am I failing the whole experiment because I'm walking into a place I've been to before? I walked in and it was a Sunday night and they had a live band playing. So
Ooh,
initially I was like, cool, because I love music. But then
yeah.
as I sat down at the bar, there wasn't a ton of people there. And I sat down at the bar and I'm like, oh no, like this is going to defeat the whole purpose. Like, it was like a 5 piece jazz fusion band with like a flautist and it was awesome. But it was like, I immediately went to the place of like, I'm not going to have any meaningful conversations because there's music playing. I'm like one of 2 people at the bar. And so instantly I went to the place where I'm like, oh, I'm failing Tracy. I'm failing the experiment. I'm not going to be able to get any good stories. And so like, I felt like probably for the first 30 minutes, I was just solely in my own head, like
Mm.
scouting people that I could talk to and have an interaction with and get some good stories. And I felt like for most of my time there, I was focusing so heavily on what I could get in terms of getting some good stories to tell, you know?
To be fair though, when I did it, the blog and went out, I definitely kind of sussed things out. And I think I was in my head trying to figure out, okay, if I sit on this part of the corner of the bar, then there's more access to people just standing up. Or if I go in this part of the room, I see this group of people and maybe I can talk to them or something. So I do think there is a fair amount of figuring out and navigating the scene.
Part of it was pushing yourself out of your comfort zone though, right? Like a lot of it was that, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because my
Yeah.
comfort zone at the time was my apartment, my home, and not doing things alone in general. If I had people that had made plans with me and they canceled, I would just not do the plan. if they canceled on me. And then I'm sitting at home being like, I really wanted to do that thing. I really wanted to go out and have that meal or check out that concert or whatever. So this felt
Yes.
like an extreme to really get me out and an exercise to doing that. I also felt like when I first started doing it, which was interesting, I wasn't missing my friends. I was more about strangers. I think the impetus for meeting strangers and having random conversations with new people was a big part of it for me too. So it was comfort zone, but it was also this urge and this desire to connect with new people.
You got some incredible stories from that too. When during your experience, did you feel like there were times though that you got to the bar and it wasn't quite what you expected?
The actual bar, yeah.
Yeah.
I think some where I felt like maybe the bar was separate from the dining area
Yeah.
and people were really mainly going for the dining area and not really using the bar if it was a restaurant type of bar. Or, yeah, if it was too loud and the music was too loud, then I would get worried. Oh, I don't know. I definitely don't think I could have done Girl at a Club because that's
Yeah.
hard to
Right.
talk. And you're right, like Girl at a Concert can have really cool moments where you end up talking to people, but
Yeah.
while the music is actually playing,
Yeah.
it's less conversation and more physical connection with people if you end up dancing.
Right, right. And I wonder too, like if in the days we live in now, like the whole going to a bar alone, if a lot of it is more contingent on the bartender or whoever's serving you too, like because I guess one thing I experienced too is that the people that were coming in and sitting at the bar, which there wasn't that many when I was there, which I was also bummed about, uh, they were mostly just on their phones, just locked in, you know. And the other
Hmm.
people that were kind of frequenting the place, most of them were sitting on the patio in smaller groups, like maybe because the band was playing. So it's like I think it was also hard to like try to figure out who I could even get an in with, you know.
So,
Um,
did the band play the whole time you were there?
Pretty much the whole time. Yeah, they took 2 10-minute breaks, which was nice. Or there just really wasn't that opening to even go deep with the bartender, which I was, and I didn't want to seem like super, you know, social like thirst either, like glomming onto anybody that walked in. And there was 2 younger guys that came in and sat down a couple seats away from me, and I kind of overheard some of their conversation. And they were, you know, they were 2 students at Evergreen State College, which is a very liberal arts college in the area, and
Hmm.
and they were discussing in very great depth fonts, uh,
Oh,
and it was, and I was just chuckling the whole time. It was very interesting to hear them talk about it, and ultimately they came to a point where they were talking about how the font that Jägermeister uses is like such an underrated font.
what font is it?
It's like an old Englishy type of a font, but I guess they
Okay.
were like, it's just too bad the Jaeger is like, it's got this spin where it's now like this party drink, you know. Like, it's just too bad they wasted the Jägermeister font on something like Jaeger, and it was just so funny to hear him talk about that. But that was kind of a fly on the wall type of of the socialness that I got.
That sounds
But
like an
like,
awesome thing to overhear.
yeah. And you know, I guess I had random tidbits with the bartender with a couple of the people. Nothing super interesting though. It was just very shallow and very kind of surface level. What kind of hops do you brew this beer with? What, you know, I talked to the band for a second in one of their breaks, you know, which is kind of
Oh,
cool.
tell me about that.
Um,
What'd you talk about?
so they're, yeah, they're like they're just a local 5-piece jazz fusion band. And they were awesome. They were all probably in their late 50s, early 60s, which is also cool to see them just rocking it out, you know? Um,
Yeah.
uh, and it kind of gave me a little bit more appreciation for the art scene in the city that I live. Like, it was
Hmm.
kind of cool to see that, like, a band of that talent, that this is the type of music that you can hear on a Sunday night in the city I live in. So that
Yeah.
was kind of a cool kind of side note. But like I said, I you know, the socialness of the experiment, I was just more wrapped up in my head, and I wasn't getting a lot in terms of that. And I think about an hour in, you know, I turned off my phone, I put it on a ringer. I'm not even gonna look at my phone for 90 minutes.
Yeah. Good for you.
And about an hour in, I kind of had this like moment of not necessarily a huge epiphany, but it just kind of hit me. I'm like, whoa, like I kind of got a little bit of a wave of relief kind of come over me. Maybe this isn't about the people I'm talking to, and maybe it's less about pushing myself to be social right now. Maybe it's more about like what can I take from this, more self-reflection, personal growth type of a thing. I'm at a bar, which I love. I had a great beer. I ate an amazing smash burger on
Mm,
sourdough because they were out of buns. I'm listening to live music, which I love live music, and they're very good. Not only can I not complain, I was like, I'm actually really enjoying myself not being on my phone. And I was able to kind of like look at it a little different and realize that it was less about being social and it was more about just maybe my own personal reflection on the not only the break from your phone and from social media, but just kind of slowing down in the everyday kind of cycle of life. And that I definitely needed that that 90 minutes
yeah.
to just slow down. And even if I spent the first hour, kind of beating myself up and like really kind of looking on how I could really enhance this social element of it, uh, it was nice to be able to spend the last bit of it just enjoying it and being in my element in my city, yeah, in an environment that it was very very enjoyable, and I could take the time to reflect and to kind of like look a little bit inward and focus less on how I may be perceived or how what else is going on or even specifically the experiment, but yeah, so I think it ended up being quite a rich experiment, and I'm like, I need to do this more. I need to go out and not only just do something maybe out of my comfort zone alone, but just do something without my phone. And I think that was a huge component that I
Mm,
took from it. Like turning off the phone and being apart from whatever that is
yeah.
was important.
Oh my gosh, my heart is all warm now hearing this and how it reframes for you the experience after about an hour, things just kind of shifted. I'm just so excited about what different people are getting out of it. And kind of what you said, for me, I had done it twice. I had done the blog before I was sick and then after I was sick. And
Right.
then after I was sick and went out again, that was a bit more introspective and less about the outreach to other people in the space and more about seeing who am I in the space outside of my home, having gone through this experience.
Yeah.
And by putting myself out in a place outside of the home, it gave me that space and time to actually think about that and to reflect about that more so than I would have being in my apartment in my day to day life, which I think was very important and very different in juxtaposition to going out by myself before I got sick.
Oh yeah. And I guess just even in the change in the environment probably is a little bit of a necessary shift too, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
talking about like the usage of phones and people being on their phones at bars in public, wherever you are, people are on their phones. Like, was that a pretty big difference too from when you did it
Mm.
post and prior?
Good point. Good question. I'm trying to think. It was about 5 years later that I redid it. I don't know if there was a huge shift, but I think there's a huge shift now because that was probably already several years ago, like 7, 8 years ago. And so there's a huge difference.
I was thinking about this before we hopped on too. I was like, well, I remember you. I mean, you were doing this. The inception of a girl in a bar was a bit ago, and at that time, I was like, I don't even know if like scrolling culture or we even had the capacity to do the whole scroll on the phone either. Were iPhones even like was the touch
Yeah.
screen even doing the things it does now? I was just
That's
thinking
a
about like how powerful the phones have become,
They
like,
have. That's a really, really good point. And I do think that people thought, oh, you have to have your phone because you
yeah,
need to be able to text or call if something happens. But I
right.
don't think it was as much of a, oh my God, you're not going to look at it for 90
Yeah.
minutes as it is now. Because now when I talk to people and task them with doing the podcast or something, it does seem like a bigger deal.
And I think maybe this is how we are too, where we're bored in a situation and we're not with somebody, and the default is to just go to the phone. And if you don't have the phone, maybe that kind of hit me hard. I'm like, okay, yeah, what do I do if I can't look at my phone?
And also, we're up against technology that's affecting our brain by the hits that it's giving us each time we scroll and see a like or whatever it is. So we've become kind of wired to look to that to get some happiness, some dopamine, whatever it is.
Right.
It's so hard to do it in our homes, not look at our phone. I do coaching, I talk about putting it in a different room when you want to take space, like put it in the guest room or maybe put it above the refrigerator. And I've also heard of people putting it in a box and locking the box too, so that you really just say, I'm not going to do this for an hour or 2 hours and then see what happens. Have you ever tried that?
On the weekends, now I've got friends that will do like the phone jail on the weekends, where they literally. And I've tried to just leave it somewhere on the weekends, especially where I don't feel like, because what I do too for profession is also very contingent on being not only having like using your phone, but like being available, which I get in some professions, but I'm also trying to work on building maybe a little bit better professional boundaries too. And especially on the weekend, I'm really trying to just take the time away from the phone. Um,
Yeah.
and for my daughter too, like I don't necessarily think it's healthy for her to just see me walking around on my phone all the day and just tethered, locked in. I want to be able to give her the attention and my partner the attention and other things the
Mhm.
attention that maybe my phone normally gets.
Right, completely. Yeah. We do dinner several nights a week where it's no phone dinner at the table and just at home, not even out at a restaurant. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important.
Yeah. That's a good one. No phones at the table.
We're nicer about it. Can we please have no phones? Is there anything specifically, any areas of your life where you want to push yourself more to get out of your comfort zone?
I mean, it's a great question. I think, yeah, definitely. And I think, like I just mentioned, the boundary zone professionally and probably personally too, with technology, boundaries with technology. I think that's an important one. Like I said before too, this was a very enriching experiment for me personally. And I do, like, after leaving the 90 minutes, I felt it was almost like, I think I know you have practiced. You've done some work with like meditation and stuff, but it not comparing them apples to apples, but in an experience where you're kind of able to drop below the surface and maybe go a little bit internally. I think I was able to do that in the 90 minutes and come out of it feeling a little bit refreshed, a little bit more, less monkey brain, a little bit more focused. I would love to explore more opportunities to do that, and I would love to do this again and push myself to do these types of things again. I think it was very enriching.
You moved there for a reason. I know we talked about your love of where you moved to for so long. And I love that getting to experience the city that you chose on purpose to move to could be a way to experience more girl at a bar moments just by getting out and seeing the city you love.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which is huge too. It also gave me an opportunity to kind of research some more spots that I've been wanting to go to. So maybe next time I'll be up to go to the Cryptotropa.
You can do it. What you were saying about meditation, I've already talked about it on the other podcast too. So maybe it's going to be a recurring theme.
Mm,
And this will end up being sort of a promo for meditation, oddly. Who would have thought?
nice.
A Girl at a Bar podcast. But it definitely, in that space of being alone and without the phone, there is this mindfulness. And mindfulness can be anything. It can be just drinking and saying, I'm drinking and I'm thinking about drinking this beverage, alcoholic or not, or I'm eating this food or I'm listening to this music.
Totally. That's good.
Well, I'm glad you're able to drop into the zone.
Yeah.
You do such amazing things and such great work in the music industry, and really an interesting career that you've had through it. So lucky to have like snagged you to help on Girl at a Bar.
I was talking to my partner a little bit about it too, but like these types of things are often more fulfilling for me because it's that much deeper, and there's more passion involved, and I'm like I said, I'm thrilled to be involved with something like this.
Thanks, Craig. Well, I hope that everyone can get to the bar that you want to get to. And I hope that you can get there too. Maybe I'll come visit and we can go together.
Yes.
Yes,
That would be awesome. That
it's
would be
on the
awesome.
docket. How far are you from Seattle again? You're a bit.
60 to 90 minutes south of Seattle, so not too far.
Easy
Yeah.
peasy. Okay.
Yeah.
You can do it. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. Such a pleasure. And I will talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the Girl at a Bar channel on YouTube to see video episodes of the podcast and watch the Girl at a Bar scripted series. Thanks to Andrew Hollander for producing the song, Something I Can't Rearrange. You can check out the full version on all music platforms. Please visit girlatabar.com and bayarealyme.org for resources on Lyme disease.